Hello.
Hi, everybody. Look, there's someone special here. I don't know.
Hi. Thanks for having
We have
me.
Dr. Mary from Real Life Medicine with us.
And she is going to be, Dr. Mary is a low-carb GP from Real Life Medicine. She's going to be answering any of your questions about a low-carb lifestyle. I do have a couple of questions that were submitted, but if you have a question, please pop it into the comments and we will get to it a bit later on.
But first of all, before we get to that, let's have Dr. Mary talk a little bit about the kind of signature, would you call it your signature program? I would.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. The signature program, the Rebalance. There's more to it than that, isn't it? 12-week.
12-week mind.
There we go.
Erika's got it. Thanks for having me, lovely humans. So yes, our 12-week mind and body rebalance program is starting on Saturday and enrollments are open. They close at midnight tomorrow night, end of Friday. And it's a wonderful program. We've certainly talked about it on this forum before. It's a 3-month transformative program that we run with Dr. Lucy Burns. So it's a doctor-led low-carb program where you get lots and lots of content. Every week we have a new module with these short digestible videos where we teach the science of low carb, the science of how you can heal your metabolism using a low carb approach, about how being overweight is not your fault, how metabolic disease is not your fault, and how it is a curable condition, and how you can lose weight sustainably without hunger using low carb. That's certainly one part of it. We talk about low carb real food, how to do it sustainably. We have these amazing recipe books that are included from having which is fantastic. Definitely use your genius zone there for the making of the recipe books. And we've got modules on mind management. This is probably where we really stand out. I guess the fact that we're doctors, but also because it's okay to know what to do, but you really need to understand your mind. You need to be able to work on your mindset with kindness and compassion in order to make the changes sustainable, and especially in COVID times with, us using emotional eating, alcohol as a way to deal with the stress wars. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't need to necessarily use unhelpful things like food and alcohol. You can find other ways to soothe yourself, to deal with the stressors of life, and that is an enormous part of our program, as well as fasting and gut health. And we have weekly coaching with doctors and a wonderful Facebook group. So coaching, content, and community.
And so the weekly coaching is like a Zoom call or a Facebook Live or something, is that?
Yeah, it's a Zoom, so fairly interactive with Lucy or myself. We'll alternate weeks. We'll have questions submitted beforehand, which we'll answer, as well as doing coaching, mindset coaching, and with capacity to answer questions as we do it live. And those sessions will be recorded as well. Yeah.
I think the biggest, I guess it's probably been more heightened in the last 18 months or so, but the biggest problem overall people find with low carb is like they know what to do, but they just can't do it. Like they can't stick to it.
Sustain.
The sustainability and just finding it difficult to maintain it. So I think that's where this program's really good for anyone who thinks that has been doing low carb. Sorry, I
love it.
It's her dinner time, and that's her way of saying feed me. Is trying to kill us with this pizza above us.
Thank you. Can't argue with results.
Well, she might go hungry then. So how does this program kind of help with that aspect? And I guess for people who are perhaps experienced with low carb or keto, but having trouble with sticking to it.
Or they do it for a month, and then that I don't like the off the whack, on and
Yeah,
off the
but
way.
something happens that kind of derails them, and then, like COVID, etc.
Yeah. That's really an enormous part of what this whole course is about. We kind of have, I guess, two cohorts of people who don't know much about low carb, or maybe only a little bit, and are there to sort of learn about that, as well as people who are quite seasoned low carbers but find the sustainability a problem. So we really do like the sort of, it's almost half and half, really, the people that we get.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, like Lucy and I, we've trained in psychological medicine. We're trained in health coaching. We've also just got a lot of experience, both our own experience, learning to understand our own minds so that we could stay on track with a low carb lifestyle sustainably, but also helping other people. And we can teach people lots and lots of tools to deal with all the little things that can really get in our way for making sustainable change, like all or nothing perfectionism. Like you're either doing it absolutely perfectly or you're on a bender. There's no sort of, middle ground, or the fear of missing out. There can be just this loud voice screaming in your head that you really need to eat the ice cream that everybody else is eating. With emotional eating, like just feeling like you need to have the sweet foods to be able to stuff down the uncomfortable feelings. The idea of like food bullies, other people telling you shouldn't be eating this way, or it's just a little bit of bread. Come on, have some bread. You deserve it. Why won't you eat it? All of these are really common themes, and we can teach. There are really quite specific tools that you can use to overcome all of these, as well as broad-reaching ones with just learning to be able to understand your own mind and to listen to it with kindness. Really learn to sort of tune in with kindness. It's a learnable skill, and that we spend a lot of time teaching that in this course.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's probably the thing that we see the most is people just like knowing what to do and not being able to stick to it. So if you feel like you're in that boat, then this program could be awesome for you to learn those tools going forward. So there is a link in the description of this video to the 12-week mind body rebalance. And we have a discount code, which is HBWT100. It should be written in the description as well, which would give you $100 off.
So what's the cost?
So the cost of this program is $697 for the 12 weeks. But for you guys, if you use that Have Butter Will Travel 100 code, HBWT100, you get $100 off. It's in the link. So that's $597, about $50 a week, $7 a day for the full 3-month program. Which also includes weekly guided hypnotherapy sessions, which I didn't mention before, because Lucy and I are both medical hypnotherapists, which is another really useful tool to harness your subconscious to make the change.
The other good thing about the timing of this one is it's going to roll in through Christmas and kind of help you be prepared and ready to kind of roll into like the new year.
Yeah, and Christmas is usually like kind of a really challenging time with I don't know if we'll be having social functions this year, but potential social functions.
But there's likely going to be stress involved, whether that's social functions or the fact you're not having social functions.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And like before, Dan, you said you don't like the term wagon. I don't either. I think the wagon's just too passive. I think self-talk is important, and we have this concept of you're not on a wagon. Your health journey is not some passive wagon pulled by horses that you can be thrown off because you had a donut and hit a pothole, and that you have to just languish forever on the side of the road eating all the donuts because you were thrown off the wagon. Or the train ride, like it's you're not driving the train, you get derailed. It's this idea that your health journey is some train track on preordained tracks, and if you hit a boulder and eat a donut, you get derailed and you have to just forever languish on the side of the tracks, rusting forever. We have this idea your health journey is an all-terrain 4-wheel drive vehicle, and you can drive this wherever you want. You are always in control. And if you go down a ditch and eat the donuts, it doesn't matter. You just pull on the steering wheel and then you keep going. And you can be in charge of your own health, your own 4-wheel drive, all-terrain vehicle by Christmas. And it's a wonderfully freeing thing to be able to be in charge of.
Awesome.
We
love
love
that. Yeah.
Life.
All-terrain vehicles. No more wagons, trains.
No more wagons.
races.
No, you don't fall off the wagon and you're not derailed. You're in your 4-wheel drive all-terrain vehicle.
And are you able to give us like a bite size how the hypnosis sessions, like how that works?
Yeah, so they're all they're recorded hypnotherapy sessions that are all related to the learnings in that week. And what hypnosis does, it's very much like a guided meditation. They're very, very similar. And you use the guided meditation to get yourself into a nice, relaxed state. It's very lovely. It's very relaxing. And in that nice, relaxed state, you're still aware of everything that's going on. But when you're in that relaxed state, your conscious mind, still aware, but it's just sort of put on the shelf, if you will. It's just not quite in, it's not there, it's not in charge. And then during that time, the positive suggestions that we infuse throughout the hypnosis session are able to sort of embed deeply in your subconscious and really help that change. The interesting thing about hypnosis is you can't be hypnotized to do anything you don't want to do. It's only can be hypnotized to with positive suggestions that you agree with. So there's lots of kind of myth busting around that, which we do in the course, but they're beautiful guided meditations with guided imagery to enforce the learning and to reinforce the lifestyle change to get you to where you need to be.
That's a cool little add-on. Yeah, I guess the only experience we have with hypnosis,
I'm going to make you clap
you
5
do the
times.
chicken dance,
which is incredibly entertaining. So, yeah, and stage hypnotherapists, they actually make very good therapeutic hypnotherapists usually, but stage hypnosis is really different. What stage hypnotherapists are amazing at is they're incredibly good at selecting their candidates, because you cannot be hypnotized to do something you don't want to do. You just can't. It doesn't work that way. And so what their genius is they can, by very subtly looking at people's body language and how they're interacting on very minute levels, know which people are actually desperate to get up on stage and cluck like a chicken and do everything that they want to do. So that's their genius. If they just picked a random selection of people, probably only about 10% would actually do it. But it is quite a cool thing. They're just unleashing the stuff that those people want to do anyway.
Oh, that's funny. Cool. Well,
So should we get into a couple of questions? Because I think Erika's got one and then there's a couple in the comments as well.
Yes. So Gail asked for you, Dr. Mary, is intermittent fasting necessary for weight loss?
Great question. Often it is. So it really depends on people's metabolism, really, and it's very, very individual. So for some people, just going low carb will result in a fantastic weight loss. I often see this like in married couples, say, or couples of people. The whole family will go, both adults will go low carb, and one will lose lots of weight really quite easily, eating 3 low carb a day. Yeah, and it is often. I was going to give
she was trying to be politically correct with her wording.
Usually.
No, it is, and there are multiple reasons for that. Why men tend to lose weight more easily, or more quickly, than women on a low carb diet. Got hormonal reasons as well as lots of emotional diet trauma sort of reasons.
Yeah,
women.
I think there's a real element. They've tried a low carb diet and it's the first thing they've ever done in their lives. Whereas women have been doing it since a lot of women have been doing it since they were like 15 or 16.
Absolutely. Yep. With their well-meaning mothers encouraging them to do it. Yes.
That's very general, obviously, but that's,
a lot of people's experience.
Yeah.
So for a lot of women, they can be dejected. You know, they can go low carb, they can see the weight just falling off their husband, and they're like, what is going on? I have not eaten so much as an apple and I haven't lost a kilo. It does happen. It's not, I mean, it's normal to at least lose some weight going low carb, but occasionally it's not until we introduce the intermittent fasting that the weight really starts to shift for a lot of people. And intermittent fasting can actually it's one of the most powerful tools you have for weight loss. We talk about it in the course, and it becomes easy when you're low carb and when you're fat adapted. Oh, and I will say one more thing. Intermittent fasting, in my experience, the sort of the 16 hours intermittent fasting where you say you just skip breakfast and then eat lunch, I think it's very good for your metabolism. It doesn't always result in insignificant weight loss for women. It's more the longer fasts. 18 hours, 20 hours, 24 hours, when done once or twice a week, really depends. It's very individual. That is often when weight starts to shift significantly.
Sorry, you can say something?
I was just going to say around the differences between men and women. It can also be age factors a lot heavier for women than men in terms of weight loss as well. It can be much harder to shift weight once you're postmenopausal, I think.
Yes, those hormonal changes do really slow things down. Evolution has worked hard at having all of these mechanisms for us to be hang on to our weight, and that is especially true for postmenopausal women. It's still possible, but it may not happen as quickly as it does, you know, for the man in the house, for example.
Yeah. So I guess for someone who was looking at doing intermittent fasting to help with weight loss, who's already low carb, what would you recommend as far as, you know, some sort of schedule?
Yeah, I reckon a good place to start is to get to a point where you're comfy with 24-hour fasts generally. 24-hour fasts are good. So kind of one meal a day. I don't believe it's a good idea to do it every day. I think you get into sort of slightly dangerous calorie restriction zones there, and it is better to keep your metabolism guessing, to sort of mix it up. It's good, keeps our metabolism nice and high. So generally, like a 24-hour fast twice a week is usually pretty good. The golden rule being that fasting is free. You can always come back to fasting, and if you feel bad,
it's actually cheaper. It's not just free; it's cheaper than eating.
That's
you
right.
actually save money.
That's right. It's always there. You can always come back to it. But yeah, you know, if you're feeling unwell for whatever reason, don't push through. Hunger's okay. Hunger comes and goes. But if you're feeling sick, don't push through. That's just my main little safety thing, because sometimes people do some pretty extreme things when their body is sort of screaming out for food, but they're pushed through.
Yeah, but they're like, no, I'm doing them. I can't eat until this time. And it's like, if you're on the floor, like, just have something to eat, you know.
That's right.
You mentioned about keeping your body kind of guessing, and that helps with your metabolism. Do you think there's benefit in changing up your fasting schedule? So say, you know, doing 16-hour windows, but one day that might be not eating breakfast, but then another day it might be not eating dinner. And
I think if you can, yes.
Like mixing it up seems to be keeping your body on its toes a little bit, and it doesn't get into its comfort zone in some ways.
That's right, and the metabolism stays fine. I mean,
rather than just eating dinner all you do is eat dinner every single day, it kind of almost is expecting the food to come. Whereas if you then, you know, 24-hour fast, eat dinner, and then eat breakfast, and then, you know, eat dinner, or, you know, there's different ways to do it if, you know, you're not getting the results of the reason that you're doing it.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. I think that the fasting that works is the fasting that you do. So for some people, the idea of a complicated regime would be overwhelming. And if that's hard, then just do 1 to 2 24-hour fasts a week. But if you can mix it up, Dan, I think it is great for your metabolism.
Okay, we've got another question from Mon. Oh, hang on, Erika's going to show it. If you have hypothyroidism, would low carb help with losing weight, or is keto better, and what is the difference? So this keto versus low carb is the
I love this question. Every day. So the first bit with the hyperthyroidism, so that's having high thyroid, too much thyroid. Look, that's a big topic, and like whether often hyperthyroid, too much, results in unexpected weight loss, and confusingly in the Australian vernacular, hypothyroidism, which we pronounce pretty much identically, hyperthyroid, hypothyroid, that because we don't pronounce the R's in the middle of our words. And when we doctors talk to each other, we really say hyperthyroidism, just so we really emphasize it so that we know what we're talking about. So low thyroid can often result in weight gain just purely because the metabolism has slowed down because of the low thyroid. So, I mean, low carb can help with weight loss regardless of underlying issues, including thyroid disorders. But it is also incredibly important to make sure that you've got the right medical treatment so that your thyroid hormone issues are addressed, whether you're on thyroid replacement therapy because you've got too little, or whether you're on medications to slow your thyroid down because you've got too much. That's vitally important for a whole lot of reasons: heart health, bone health, brain health, all kinds of things. It's kind of separate to the weight loss. So low carb versus keto is a great question. We are not necessarily keto advocates at Real Life Medicine as such, but what they mean, this is our take on it. Okay, so a low carb diet is any diet in which you actively restrict your carbohydrate intake, the sugars and starches. And this can mean a lot of things, and how you define that is really individual. Even in the scientific literature, people define this differently. In some scientific articles I read, they say less than 100 grams a day is a low carb diet. Others will say less than 200, which is pretty liberal in my views. Others less than 50 grams of carbohydrates a day. So it's pretty liberal, and there's a lot of variation there. The keto diet, what it means technically from a scientific point of view is that your body has entered nutritional ketosis. And that is when our carbohydrate intake is so low that our liver has to increase its production of ketone bodies. So most cells in our bodies can burn fat for fuel in the form of ketones. Not all. There's a few notable exceptions, including bits of our brain, bits of our kidneys, and our red blood cells. They must burn sugar. So we always have to have at least some sugar in our blood, else we would die. And our bodies are extremely good at making the sugar. We don't have to eat it. We can make it. Our livers will make the sugar out of our protein, out of our fat. We'll make it. So, okay, back to ketones. When our carb intake is really low, there isn't enough carbohydrates to fuel the cells of our bodies, which is fine. Our bodies can totally deal with this. They'll just naturally make more ketones. The liver will make more ketone bodies. It's making ketones all the time. It'll just make more. And then those ketones can be measured. So, and you can do little blood tests and you can measure what the percentage of ketones are in your body. So being in nutritional ketosis means your liver's making more ketones, which means you're definitely burning fat. That's all it means. That's it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you're losing fat from your body. You could just be burning the fat that you're eating. You're not necessarily burning the fat that you've stored. That's all it means. And you can lose body fat and lose weight without being in nutritional ketosis, and you can not lose body fat and be in nutritional ketosis. They're not the same thing. That's important. So we don't necessarily advocate nutritional ketosis. You don't need to be in it to reap the benefits of a low-carb, real food lifestyle. You certainly can do it if you want to, and you can measure your ketones if you want to. It's a nice measure to know that you're definitely in a fat-burning mode, but it's not at all essential. And to answer your question, Mon, I think that focusing on the quality of the food, particularly if you've got thyroid issues, which indicates an autoimmune illness, that it's more about the quality of the food. That is it real food or is it processed foods? Because you could be on a keto diet eating nothing but keto chocolate bars, artificial sweeteners and processed meats, and you'll be in nutritional ketosis, but it's not a very healthy diet. It's not a very healing diet. It's not going to heal your gut or reverse autoimmunity or all these things that a real food diet will. Like real food as close as possible to its natural state is what we advocate. And if you've got a weight loss goal, eating low carbohydrate versions of those real foods, meat, fish, eggs, seafood, vegetables, the sort of the low carbohydrate veggies, nuts and seeds, bit of berries, non-sweetened, full fat dairy. These are real foods. These foods will heal your body and allow you to lose weight. Whether it's keto or low carb is kind of semantics.
Yeah, and people can get really hung up on one or the other, and it doesn't really matter.
Absolutely.
Like it really doesn't matter. And the other thing where you were saying about like you could be eating certain things and still be in ketosis and it not necessarily be a healthy thing for your diet. This will tie into a question that's going to come up in a second. But you could be loading up on MCT oils in your coffees and stuff and producing high ketones. It doesn't necessarily mean anything reading a high number of ketones in your blood.
It doesn't mean anything for weight. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll lose weight.
No, that's what I mean.
It might mean you feel amazing and your brain's like, the clarity, mental clarity, or it might help with epilepsy.
I was talking
or other
more
medical
in weight
conditions.
loss terms.
Just having a super high ketone, that doesn't correlate. That doesn't mean you're definitely going to lose all this weight this week. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'll actually, we'll come back. There's another one about lip twitching, but I'll pop this one in because it kind of ties in more to what we were literally just talking about. I've been keto and using IF since 2018. I've never get into ketosis. Kim Howerton, who is a person in the US, suggests MCT oil, but why can't my liver do this? I'm postmenopausal and down about 60 pounds.
So cool question. Again, Tracy, it does come down to why do you want to be in ketosis? And you guys, you mentioned it before that there are reasons why you want to be in ketosis. So, people might want high ketones for the mental clarity. They might want high ketones as part of disease treatment, like beyond what I'm talking about now. But neuroinflammatory conditions like dementia or epilepsy, or sometimes in various cancer treatment regimes, people try to
so just high. Sorry, we know like Tracy we know Tracy well from coming to our class. And I think she is dealing with cancer and she's
cool. So she wants
the ketones for her chemo brain.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. So the answer is everybody's really different when it comes to nutritional ketosis. And our body also, the longer we've been doing low carb and intermittent fasting, the more efficient it gets. So ketones can just be naturally lower just because we don't need as much. And also it depends on how you're measuring them. This is really important. I'm not sure how you're measuring them, but there are three main ways to measure ketone bodies in the body. There's urine, breath with a keto sticks, and blood with a ketometer. And urine is really inaccurate. So at the start, when people are first in going into nutritional ketosis, we do tend to make quite a lot of the ketone bodies in the wee, and people can buy these keto sticks and get super excited when, it goes all the way up to dark orange. But then it goes away and they're like, I'm not in ketosis anymore. You still could be. It's just that they're no longer excreted in the urine. The breath and the blood ones are more accurate. I personally can't get the breath one to work for me. It could be me, but technology is probably improving. I bought a keto stick a while ago and it was not helpful. And so, if you're measuring bloods, then you are getting a pretty accurate measure. So that's just one thing.
She just said she's always been a blood tester just to.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So it really is, everybody is really different. I don't make a lot of ketones. Even when I'm fasting, I don't really get very high. I've been at a few of these low carb conferences with other doctors, and people can get quite competitive about their ketone levels. And I'm always sort of sitting dejected in the corner with, my ketones of 0.8 or something, and I'm super proud of myself. And there'll be other people with 3.2. I'm like, damn it. And so I just don't get them very high. And there's just other people too don't either. So I don't really know. But you mentioned the MCT oil, which is a cool thing to do if you want to bump up your ketones, you can do that by supplementing with the medium chain triglycerides, because the only thing our body can turn them into is ketones. So it's sort of a tricky way of artificially sort of pushing it up in a product that's perfectly healthy. It's
It can help with brain function, right? Like the MCT oil could help with the brain function. I don't think you would be doing any harm if you tried it.
No,
Right.
absolutely. MCT oil is pretty safe. It's just, we get it from, there's not medium chain triglycerides. They occur naturally in our diet. Not a lot. There aren't many foods that have a lot of these medium chain triglycerides. Most of our foods have got short or long, but a few do. Coconut oil is quite rich. And so it's perfectly fine. Things about the MCT oil, this is not, Tracy seems like she's really seasoned and really knows what she's doing and what she's on about. For other people who might be a bit new to this and might want to use MCT oil to bump up their ketones, remember, it won't be your friend for weight loss, because your body burns the fat it sees first. And if you're drinking lots of coconut oil or MCT oil, it'll burn that before it burns your own body fat. But if you want to bump up your ketones, start slow, because our bodies also aren't very good at digesting it, and it can cause a lot of diarrhea. And I've heard someone call it disaster pants.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Christina calls it that.
Disaster
Christina,
pants.
that's right. Yeah, I met her. She called it disaster pants. So basically, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think it's just your own beautiful self and the way that you are. And I think my liver might be a little bit like yours.
Okay, we've got another one. I'll just pop it on. Any treatment for upper lips twitching?
Is that
I'm a bit stumped by this one. I think it depends on what is causing it. So stress can cause lots of facial tics. So that is a possibility. So looking at stress management and sleep management, it really depends on what's causing it. So there's all kinds of things.
I guess it could be anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a tic disorder, and I mean, it's not very likely, but it is possible. You can also have a look at your hydration and your electrolyte levels, but I'm not too sure about that one.
Jane has said, how long does detoxing side effects last? How can I make it not so unpleasant? Headaches, moodiness, and lethargy. Jane is doing the Clean and Simple reset day 2. So there's some people doing the reset that are right in the middle of detoxing at the moment.
Diet, soft drinks, that type of thing.
Yeah, fantastic. Good on you for doing the reset. That's awesome. So it varies. I can infuriate people. Doctors almost invariably say it varies. Ask me any question and the answer will be it varies, because it does when you're dealing with complicated biological, psychological entities that are humans. It varies. Usually a week, a few days to a week really is most common. And these transition side effects are good in that they are a sign that your body is transitioning from being a carbohydrate burner to being a fat burner, as well as, getting your gut is going to be changing as well. As you eat less processed things, you get changes in your gut. You shift your gut microbiome in positive ways, which can also cause some transient unpleasant symptoms. So at the absolute outset, 6 weeks is like the longest I've ever seen them go on for. And after that, pretty much everybody's over it. But I say 6 weeks, but it's not as unpleasant as it is in the first few days. Some people, 3-4 days, they're good. Other people probably more frequently 5 days to a week, rarely longer. But even those people who get longer, it's getting better and better each day. It's just that they've still got a little bit of lingering ickiness. I think for me, the first time I sort of stumbled into a low-carb diet, it was 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I felt amazing.
Can things like electrolytes help with those?
Oh, yeah, part of the question. Yeah, absolutely. So what a lot of the unpleasant side effects is due to our insulin levels dropping, which is a good thing. It's an excellent thing. But insulin has multiple roles throughout the body. It affects pretty much every organ system in the body, and it has different roles in all the organ systems. And one role that it has with our urinary system is with our kidneys is it facilitates salt retention, sodium retention. And the body doesn't adjust to this straight away. You suddenly reduce your carb intake, which is a good thing to do. Your insulin level just drops and your kidneys just don't quite catch up immediately. It's not dangerous. There's nothing bad going on here, but you start to lose a lot more salt through your urine, especially in those first few days. And wherever salt goes, water always follows. These are the laws of osmosis. This is just the laws of physics, that what happens. So you're losing salt and you're losing water, which results in a lot of the flu-like icky, headachy symptoms. So if you drink lots of water and add in extra salt, particularly in that first week. And we advocate drinking like salty broth, probably having 1 to 2 cups of that a day. So it tastes nice and salty, has a good savory flavor to it, as well as drinking extra water and sprinkling moderate amounts of salt on your food. You might not need to keep that up, but certainly in the first week, it's a good idea. And a magnesium supplement certainly can be really helpful. And they're pretty safe. There's almost no contraindications to taking a magnesium supplement most of the time. And you can take anyone you want, really. Magnesium citrate's usually what I recommend. Pretty cheap. Get it from the chemist. You can take one at night.
The other thing with the salt is that we've been scared off salt,
Yes.
And so people get worried about adding it to their food because you're not getting the salt. If you've come from a standard diet, there's quite often a lot of salt already in that diet as well. So if you've come from that diet and you're moving to a low carb diet, just don't be afraid to add salt to your food. It helps with flavor, but it also helps with the electrolyte balance.
Yes. And it's much safer than we have been led to believe. And when you go low carb, your body manages salt differently anyway, and so it's a lot safer to have extra salt. Don't have to go crazy. Just make your food taste nice. Enough
just
salt.
Make your food. It doesn't need to taste like a salt bomb. It just needs some salt. Yeah.
But I
You
guess
can do that.
also,
Be quite liberal with your salt on your food.
also potentially you're preparing your own meals now that you can add salt to flavor, rather than if you were buying something that was prepared, probably already had loads of salt in it. Like, that's how food companies make processed food taste good. So just be aware that there's probably that variance in your diet as well.
It's like a double whammy. You're lowering your insulin and you're lowering your salt intake. Yeah. Transition phase is not a good time to lower your salt intake.
I won't pop Shane's on the screen because he's kind of asked it in 2 comments, but he said, should you check your blood sugar while fasting, say for 24 to 36 hours? Is there something that your blood sugar levels might tell you when you're fasting? So if I was testing at 36 hours and I wasn't feeling great and my blood sugars were quite low, is that an indication to eat?
Yeah, so the fact that you probably, if you're not feeling very good, would be an indication to eat, would be the first thing. So that's when I talked about it's very rare. Like fasting is almost always safe, but there are certain times, particularly if we've got an intercurrent illness, if we're already unwell or we've got other issues going on, that our bodies just don't want us to fast and our bodies want us to eat. And it'll let you know by feeling unwell, and you should just eat. Just let the fast go, eat. You can always do it again later. So that's the listen to your body. But whether or not you want to measure your sugars is an interesting one. Certainly, if you had any reason to expect that you could get low blood sugar, then yes, but that's quite sort of specific medical areas, and none of this is specific medical advice. It's all generally general. It can only be general. So yeah, if you're on insulin or if you are on sulfonylureas, like diabetic medication that could potentially lower your blood sugar, possibly any diabetic medication, it could be sensible to keep an eye on your sugars while you're fasting. But for people who've never had diabetes and don't have diabetes, you don't really need to. You can really trust your body. Our bodies are perfectly perfectly, exquisitely well adapted to keeping us alive when we don't eat for a day. Like, we are extremely good at it. So you don't have to. This is not something that everybody needs to do. I certainly don't. I have a blood sugar meter somewhere in this house. I haven't got it out of the drawer in years, or a year at least. And I only do it every now and again just out of interest. So if you've got a specific reason to do it, then yes, I would do it, but you really should be under medical guidance if that situation applies to you. Otherwise, if it's just for interest, you can do it out of interest. But if you feel fine, be guided by that. There's been interesting studies. You could not do them nowadays because they would not get ethics approval. But many, many decades ago, they've done studies on people who were fasting for really long periods of time, like days to weeks. And during that time, their ketones got really quite high because they had zero food, including zero carbs, and they were burning their fat to stay alive, and they were staying alive. And then scientists, you could not do this nowadays, they then gave them an infusion of insulin. So these people who had not had any food for months, they then infused them with insulin to lower their blood sugar to see if they died. I don't know exactly what they were expecting to happen. And the blood sugar got lower and lower and lower and lower and lower to levels where we would expect people to be comatose, and they were fine. So these people who are extremely well fat adapted with really high ketone levels could cope with extremely low blood sugar levels. Just an idea of how our bodies are so adaptable. So you really can trust your body. You definitely can.
And I know when we did, I mean, that was a long time ago, we did a 5-day fast once, and our ketone levels got very high and our blood sugar was lower than it normally was, but we felt fine. So it's like that we were going by how we felt, but we were just checking it out of interest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And in those situations, our liver kicks in and does this really clever thing called gluconeogenesis. So it just makes sugar for the picky parts of our body, like little bits of our brain, our red blood cells, the adrenal glands in our kidneys that are just super fussy and just won't accept ketones. They'll only have sugar. Thank you very much. Our body just makes the sugar for them, and it doesn't need a lot.
Okay. Lee has asked, I can't do keto due to gastroparesis, but I am trying to stick to low carb. Do you have coaching or Zoom appointments for getting help with changing to low carb with my diabetic gastro blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We do, you bet. So, Lee, if you could definitely, there's a few ways if you wanted to have a consult with Lucy or myself. Lucy she works in Frankston in Melbourne, and I work in Janjak in regional Victoria. So if you live near either of us, you could look us up. Lucy Burns and Mary Barson. You can book online on our website, rlmedicine.com. You can have an online consultation. So we do that. Also, depending on where you are, you might like to look at the website Low Carb Down Under and go to their resource section, their doctors section, and then state by state they've got lists of low carb doctors, including low carb GPs, which might be a really lovely resource for you if there's one near your region where you could go and have that face-to-face interaction, have your blood pressure checked, be examined by a low carb doctor. Could be a really good thing as well. I mean, I love telehealth. I think it's opened up heaps of doors, but it's not perfect. So yeah, they're your options. You could look up, I mean, Lucy and I are on that list as well. At Low Carb Down Under, book an online consult or find a wonderful low carb doctor near you.
Cool.
I just skipped that one because I just wanted to
last one. One more.
One more.
One more. Okay. Is it safe for a menopausal obese woman who's type 2 diabetic to be keto, or is it better to be low carb?
Yeah, awesome question. I love this. This comes up a lot. Either's fine. Yes, either is fine. Depending, that you might, if you're on diabetic medications, you may well need some medical guidance to look at your medications, and they may need to be weaned and changed if you go low carb. especially as your diabetes goes into remission, your diabetic medication can go away as well, which is wonderful. And so either is fine. As I mentioned, like low carb and keto are very similar. Keto is just that's when your carbs are so low that your body has reacted in a way that you can measure. Essentially, that's what it means by more ketone bodies. And you can do either, and either would be effective. It's low carbohydrate diets can cure type 2 diabetes, or certainly let it go into remission. This has been scientifically validated. But again, it's about the quality of food. So you could eat ultra processed, keto snacks and perhaps still remain quite unwell, or you could eat real nourishing whole foods that are low in carbohydrates and heal your body very powerfully. So we really focus on real food. It just can't emphasize that much. It's enough. It is real food. That just eat real food. The food as close as possible to its natural state. If a hunter-gatherer looked at it, would they recognize it as food or, potential food? That is a really good test of whether or not it is real food. And, carrots, potatoes, apples, these are real foods. They definitely are. And I'm extremely happy for my metabolically flexible daughter and partner to eat them as much as they want. But I'm not metabolically flexible. I've got PCOS. I had gestational diabetes. I need to have low carb real foods. So I don't eat the starchy veggies and the fruit. I eat the non-starchy veggies and a little bit of berries. That's how I eat low carb real food. So for you, Aussie Annie, low carb real food.
No. Good note to end on. So I guess for anyone who missed the start, did you want to just give a quick, wrap up of the 12-week mind-body rebalance, because it's only on sale till tomorrow night, isn't it?
It does, yeah. Cart closes midnight Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Dr. Lucy Burns and myself, Dr. Mary Barson, have got our final 12-week mind-body rebalance program starting on Saturday, and the cart closes tomorrow. This is our last one for the year, where you can get into your own health all-terrain four-wheel drive vehicle and be in charge of your health in time for summer and Christmas, and have your own food freedom. Fantastic program, doctor-led, amazing content, weekly coaching with doctors, beautiful community, weekly hypnotherapy sessions. We love it. It's wonderful walking with people as they make their transformation over the 3 months. So check it out. Our website, rlmedicine.com/12WBR. Have I got that right? Go to RL. It's
linked in the description of the video.
Link in the description.
And use the code.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, use the code. What's the code, guys?
HBWT100.
$100 off.
Give that girl a gold star. Yes, the link in the description, rlmedicine.com. Use the code to get $100 off, taking the price down to $597, $50 a week, and a powerful transformational experience.
Love it. Oh, thank you so much for your time and coming on and answering all these questions. It's been lovely to catch up with you.
I love your community. You guys ask really intelligent questions. You got a lot of knowledge here.
We got good people.
Yeah. Definitely smart people. I loved it.
Thanks so much, Mary.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.